Microphone. Hello? Hello? I don't hear my microphone.
Oops.
I'm like, why don't I hear my microphone? What's happening right now?
Sorry, wrong
He's
microphone.
only worried about himself, ladies and gentlemen.
Had the wrong microphone potted.
I'm like, and we're live. Or are we? Are we live? Hello? 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 Hello, we are live. It's Chasta and Baby Huey. And I need to start today with a disclaimer because I have such a giant zit on my nose. It literally looks like like I got punched. And it's
I didn't
like
even
making
notice it till
oh, come on. You can see me across the room.
Yeah.
But it's one of those pimples that's like it's not fully there. It's like underground. It's underground system, you know, and it like hurts.
Still brewing.
Yeah, it's still brewing. And some of those, they like never come up. They just
fully to the top.
Yeah, they just like sit there.
Yeah.
And then they just go away.
Like
slowly.
under the skin.
Yeah.
Just enough. But those are like even more like sensitive.
Tender.
Or the pain.
And it's right where my glasses go, my sunglasses go.
Yeah.
So anytime I put my sunglasses on, I'm like, oh, it's such a tough life I lead, you know? Also, other disclaimer, I haven't slept. So anything I say today cannot be held against me in a court of my peers or on YouTube.
The podcast world.
Yeah, please don't hold anything against me.
I'm a little loopy.
I do not know.
I'm a little loopy right now myself. Yeah, it was hard for me to sleep last night just thinking a lot of different things.
Yes, what was in the air?
I don't know. Maybe
Except everything's in the air. Everything is batshit crazy. Maybe that's why I can't sleep.
True, that. And then also, it's just, I think we're about to get ready for spring season. Spring's almost here. So, we're about 2 months into winter.
Yeah.
Spring's almost here. So I feel like I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, what projects do I need to get going before the spring season gets here, summer? Because I think it's going to be a really big year for us, for I hate to say it, I feel like a douche saying content creation.
I mean, it's part of life.
Yeah.
I feel like a douche saying that too, but it's part of the job.
I feel like that's such a trendy term now to say.
Just as long as we don't call ourselves influencers, because we're not. As long as although I will say, like radio DJs, jocks were the original influencers.
That's what I told my high school class.
Yeah.
No, not my high school class, but like.
The one you went and spoke at as an influencer?
Yes. When I went to go speak at Encinal High School,
yes.
They have a radio program there, and I was lucky enough to speak to the kids a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Very fun, amazing experience.
That's so cool.
And Chas, I think the biggest takeaway, I was talking to these kids and I'm like, how do I make radio sound cool for these kids? Now, granted, they're taking this class and I didn't flat
So they're
out,
already interested.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask them, like off the record, how many are you taking this because you think this is an easy class?
Oh.
Or a fun class? You know how like some kids take PE?
Yeah.
Like PE to me was always easy because I played sports all the time.
Yeah.
But I always wonder, like I'm curious, because my brother, he was office, we call it.
We had that office assistant
TA. He worked in the office. It was first period. I think his senior year, he loved it because he can roll in like let's say class started at 8. He can roll in like under the wire or like, through the side doors, like at 8:05, 8:10.
Slacker.
You're literally just walking around for like an hour handing out notes to different teachers.
Yeah.
It was such an easy job. Like I would sit there in first period. I would see Tommy walk by. Like, what are you doing? He would just walk the halls handing out stuff, like whatever the office needed help with.
Right. He
would just get school credit for. It was such an easy.
They probably shouldn't do that. What is that teaching you?
Yeah.
Honestly.
So that's what I'm thinking. Like I would just love to know. I'm curious, and I have a chance to get that. Maybe, okay, if we go back, I would love to go back and have you come with me.
Yeah.
I'm curious why these kids are taking this class.
Why are you downgrading our career right now?
No, I'm not.
Like, why are you trying to talk them into radio?
But I'm curious. Like,
actually, I know exactly why. But anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, I'm curious. Why are they taking this radio class? What are they hoping to get out of it? What are their goals? Because they were asking me all the questions. I didn't have a chance to like put it back on them.
Right.
So I would love to know, why are you guys taking this radio class? Do you want to be in radio long term? Do you just think it's an easy class? Like, I'm just curious. Like from their perspective.
I think a lot of people are fascinated by the idea of radio.
Broadcasting.
I just realized I don't have our comments up here. Okay, there we go. I think that it translates so easily to podcasting now, and that's so popular.
Yeah.
It's like that natural bridge.
Working in a studio.
Yeah. And learning all the equipment, learning how it all works, how the sausage is made.
Audio editing.
Yeah.
So I think for them, maybe a lot of these kids see that as a way to apply to different things that they're interested in.
Yeah. Also public speaking.
True.
Because you and I don't think twice about public speaking, but it's the number one fear.
I took public speaking twice, once in junior college and once at Cal.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
did
really
too.
glad I did. It's really awesome. The one thing I never did that Big Rick Stewart told me a long time ago, take improv classes.
Oh my God, I studied improv.
I would love to take improv just to learn how to be more quick-witted, on your feet, speaking just on the fly, or hearing something and reacting to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to do that. But
I studied improv in college, and then when I moved to Hollywood, I didn't get to go to the Groundlings where I really wanted to go because I was too broke ass. But
Yeah.
I can tell you the number one rule is yes and. No matter
Okay.
what I throw at you, yes, and add on to it.
okay.
You can never, because if in improv, if you question something, you run into a brick wall. And the whole thing, that's where its absurdity comes in with improv.
I wonder if we can have that on this podcast, like have an improv person
That'd be
as
totally
a guest.
fun. Yeah.
And we can like give us an intro class on the podcast live in real time and people can react to us.
I think it's great.
Okay.
The Groundlings was my favorite thing to go see.
Absolutely.
In Hollywood. I used to go all the time and dream. And quite frankly, okay, I'm going to get real personal because, again, I don't have a filter whenever I'm tired. So I'm going to say all kinds of shit today that I probably shouldn't say. So, here we go. And we're live. So there's no editing. But when I was in Hollywood, I was married to my first husband. And I was like so thoughtful about like, oh, we're so broke and I shouldn't spend money on myself. And clearly it didn't matter because that was my first husband. And I probably should have thought about myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Damn it. But that's okay.
So I will say, please check out Encinal Radio. It's 96.1 KJTZ.
He's promoting the competitor.
I think that they're broadcast from 7 to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday during the school year. And I think they also do have a Twitch as well. So
That's really cool.
if you can't get the stream or the signal in your area, you can also go on Twitch. And,
Go on Twitch
pick it
because
up.
we don't compete with Twitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris Relva said, had I been given the oh well, there it's on the screen. Had I been given the chance, I absolutely would have done this. Love of music, but maybe no talent with a musical instrument. I feel you on that. Had drama classes, so it was only what was available. Yeah, I had drama too, Chris. Hi, Chris. By the way, love you.
Hi, Chris.
Yes, did you do drama?
No, I didn't.
No theater. None of it.
No.
I was never a theater kid, but I did theater a little bit, and I did drama. I
The-
brought the
theater.
drama. Theater. But yeah, whenever I moved to Hollywood, I mean, I love taking classes.
I
Those are my
took
favorite
art
things.
more. I was more art.
Can you draw?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
I not know this about you?
I
Do I
don't
know this about you and I'm too
I think-
tired and I
think
just
I-
forgot?
Yeah, we talked about it
I
before.
think we have talked about
Yeah,
it. Starting to
I
ring
used to have a
bell.
sketchbook.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I used to do 3D art. I took 3D arts, like ceramics class. That was really fun.
You did like on Ghost, you made the like pottery.
Oh, no. Literally, the one big project we had to make a mask, and I forgot the exact term, what's it called, like with paper mache. Literally, we blow up a balloon, and you start just
remember this.
wrapping that up in newspaper
Yes.
and glue.
You're bringing back the memories.
And you do it in layers so
Yes.
that eventually gets thick enough, like a cocoon.
Yeah.
And that it dries and it hardens, and then you pop the balloon or what's left. I'm sure most times it just pops on its own.
Yeah.
And then you just take the balloon out. And then our teacher, shout out Mr. Haber. I know he's retired now because I went to go ask. Because when I was at my high school a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, is there anyone still here that teaches when I was here? And I figured the odds are slim because I graduated 2002. So the class of 2025 is about to graduate in a few months. So yeah, it's 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So there was only one teacher left. And I didn't have her. My brother had her. I went to say hi to her. But Mr. Haber, our art teacher, loved Mr. Haber. I had him twice for art and the 3D art class. And he had like what's it called? I'm not
You're
like
not
a
an
drill
artiste?
saw. I'm not.
You had a what saw?
A drill. Is it a drill saw?
Hell if I know.
Zzz. So he took the
Careful making that.
Yeah. So he took the drill saw and he would take your paper maches and he would cut it in half, and so then it opens up, and
Yeah.
that's your mask.
Oh.
So
Yeah, of course.
Some people will take the one half and make a mask out of it, and if you get done early, you can mess around with the other half of the paper mache to make a second mask.
I feel like this is a project we need to do for social.
It could be a fun video.
This is content creation.
or it could be something fun for Cody to do.
He would love doing
Make
that.
a
'cause he's
mask.
such an art guy.
You could totally because him and I were at the movies and we
Yeah.
were looking at the Captain America mask.
Oh, right,
in
yeah,
line. So I
yeah.
was like, you could totally make something like that, or make a Red Hulk mask or whatever, Hulk mask, Halloween mask, something
He
like that.
would love that.
But I will say, I was just super happy and vindicated. I went to ask the shout out Kevin Gorham. He's the athletic director at Encinal. He's done it all at Encinal, I feel like, in the last couple decades. But he's the current radio teacher for the program.
Oh, my chair is falling.
He used to be a saw. Yeah, thank you, Chris.
It's a sawzall.
Yeah.
I've always heard that word. I've never seen it spelled out like that. And now it makes sense to me, Rava. Saws all. Like it saws all. Okay, I got it. Anyway. Wow.
But Kevin, he went to the Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame last year, or was it this? Or yeah, it been last year. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, because he used to produce for Don Blue years ago.
Wow, that's
but
cool.
then he went.
Damn it!
He left radio, went to teaching.
This is the state of radio. Our chairs don't even stay out.
I know. So I was like, hey man, I don't know if it's possible, but is my transcript of my grades from 4 years in high school, you guys have it on file? And then he took me to the office and looked it up. Yes, they still have them. So I found my actual transcript.
That's amazing.
And they emailed it to me, a PDF. So yeah, proof I was a good student
how
at the time.
How far back to their records go? That's not a dig at your age because we're
not
the
at
same
all.
age. But seriously, how far back to their records go?
Do they
from the beginning of time with that school?
Because our school started in 56, I want to say. Roughly.
I know that. I have no idea when my high school started.
Because my aunt Gail was one of the first, or she was one of the early ones. My dad was class of 70. So
okay, yeah.
But anyway, so no, it was just cool. Maybe next episode or something you could go over my grades. I was an A.
Oh, here
A
he's
student,
wanting to brag. It's the proof. He's bringing the receipt.
And it showed you what class ranked I was, and I was in the top 20. I was like, what?
At you.
Something like that. So it was cool, but no, it was just a lot of fun speaking at my high school. It was just a really cool full circle moment, and I got a tour of. They remodeled a lot of it, so it was just really cool. Be there. I have a lot of great memories from high school.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of fun. I appreciate giving back, talking to the kids. They want to come by and get a tour. So maybe that's another podcast.
You better hurry.
I know, yes. I did.
We're falling apart at the seams over here.
I warned them that, but yes, they would like to come by. So maybe we can combine that. They can come by and we can do a podcast with these kids and I can grill them all these questions.
I love that. I would love to hear their answers. I think that would be fascinating.
That'd be cool. So we can do that too. So,
by the way, thank you for a fun weekend.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
our
Thank
Uncle
you.
Danny play date. So, y'all, okay, so we're going to do our first official Chasta and Huey movie review.
Oh, we need a sounder for that.
Burr, burr, burr.
We could totally do that, more movie reviews in general. Or
We should.
Dennis can jump on.
I would love to have Dennis on, actually.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
We'll make a thing, although we'll never get it back. I wrote up a little Chasta and Huey intro and sent it off to get made, and it hasn't come back yet, so I don't know what the delay is.
Come on, people.
I know, but
the people maker.
People maker.
Production maker.
But soon.
We actually did have that little bit of a TED talk. People making.
People making. Oh my God.
The puppy video.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, so we'll get into it. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so this is.
Because I was. Okay, sorry.
This is how our night went. I'm stopping you right there. We'll get to that. I'll tell that story. That's fine.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that's okay.
That was the closest we've ever come to a birds and the bees conversation.
Oh, you
Anyway,
haven't had it yet?
no, he's 8.
Oh, because I wasn't sure. When do you do it?
I don't know. I never had that with my parents. They never set me down and they were like, this is
Because my parents did.
Oh, how old were you?
See, that's what I was trying to remember. I think I was probably around
You
Cody's
weren't
age.
8.
Or 10, maybe 10.
Especially then, because we were a lot more sheltered than they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm California, man. We're a little more laid back
Oh,
around
he's
here.
savvy. He's savvy. Jay would kill me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because, again, I don't have a filter when I'm tired. His parents had a Kama Sutra book that just sat on the coffee table.
Nice.
But they were hippies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
get it,
They came from New York drove all the way across the country to San Francisco in the
Yeah.
60s, and they were just those kind of
Which
parents. So
we
he knew
learned
everything.
A lot about that from the Zeppelin documentary.
Yes, we did. Wow, look at you
Look at that
bringing us
segue.
back
Look at that
on.
segue.
Our train, literally, he just put us right back on the track.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to the Zeppelin documentary, we promise. But thank you for having a play date with us. It was
You're
so
welcome.
fun.
Thank you for
So
having me and everything.
It was
That was
really
awesome.
It was
Taking
really
care of
fun.
all that. Thank you.
Here's a little fun fact for you. My son is obsessed with Uncle Danny, as he calls him. Anytime we go anywhere, his first question is Uncle Danny coming? Which is a lot of times is yes.
Yeah.
So whenever we said we were going to go to a movie, he said, is Uncle Danny coming? And you and I had already talked about it, so it worked out.
Yes. Yeah.
So we made a date. We were going to go watch the Led Zeppelin documentary and then go to Dave and Buster's after.
That was awesome.
We love Dave. This is all in the Daly City area.
Yeah.
So we go to the movie. We'll talk about that in a
Shout
second.
out Daly City. I was texting. I don't know if I told you I was texting Tonelli on the way over.
Oh, really?
Because keep in mind, we it's been raining off and on for weeks.
Yeah.
And so going across the East Bay or leaving from the East Bay, going across the Bay Bridge through San Francisco, it was sunny. It was a nice sunny Saturday afternoon.
Oh, that's nice.
As soon as I hit 280,
forget about it.
It got so foggy. I was like, oh my God. I was shocked. I took a photo and sent it to Tonelli.
Like he doesn't know what Daly City fog is.
His response was fun.
Oh, I can only imagine.
That's right, because when we got to the movies, we just rushed right in, so I have a chance to tell you. I said, the sun disappeared in Daly City. And he wrote, ... Like that is news, ? And he said, I'm just shocked right now, LOL. And I told you I was meeting up with you for the movie. So, yeah, of course, he's Mr. Daly City, of course.
He knows all about the fog.
Yeah.
We should have went to Original Joe's because he's like royalty there.
Yeah.
Well, next time I have a gift card we can spend there. Anyway, so we go to the movie. We'll give you the review in a minute, but then we go to Dave & Buster's after, and because we had some cards we needed to spend. Cody loves it. It's a fun time for everybody, not an ad. Dave & Buster's, hop on board if you want influencers to talk about you. We will.
P1 Paul, get on it.
But anyway, we had a great time. We had dinner, and that's where we had a little bit of the birds and the bees conversation. And the reason is because I typically don't give Cody my phone or an iPad or anything at dinner. But the three of us were having kind of like adult conversation.
We were breaking down the movie.
We were really into Zeppelin. And so I was like, hey, bud, do you want to watch a little YouTube Kids on my phone? And so he did. And somehow he ended up on a puppy. A puppy video. It was a mom dog having puppies. And he looks at me and his eyes are so big. He's like, Mom, the puppies, look at the puppies. And I look over and it's a very sweet video. And he's like, the puppies came out of the butt. And I'm like, that ain't the butt.
And I sat there like, I don't know how to react because this is someone else's kid. Like, I'm just like, okay, parents, do your thing.
Well, to be fair, I'd had half a beer.
That made it easier.
It did. I mean, he's got to know at some point.
Yeah.
And he knows, like, he used to be in mommy's tummy. So, like, at some point, he's going to be like, how did I get out of there? Mom doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, we'll get there eventually. But he didn't ask a lot of questions.
No, yeah.
I think Jay popped off because Jay doesn't give a crap about any of this. He's like, yeah, it's the vagina. And I'm like, okay, well, now we're in it. And he's like, vagina. And he just starts dying laughing.
And I was laughing. I'm like, yeah, kid.
That's all you kept doing was like... Yeah. Oh my God, it was freaking great.
Well, then I said something along the lines, that's a style, or wait, how do I?
Vagina.
No, but we were talking about the dogs, you know.
Oh, you did? That's right.
And I said, yeah, that's a style. Or no, I said, yeah, when two people love each other. And they express themselves in a certain style. Oh, I'm butchering how I said it.
You're butchering it now, but you did deliver it quite well in the moment.
Thank you.
And of course, it went right over his head.
Oh, yeah, that was the point.
Thank God. But it was hilarious.
My best Tonelli impression.
It was very good. It was very well played. Anyway, it was a very fun night all around. But let's get into the official movie review.
Yes.
The Led Zeppelin documentary. We were very excited to see it. And I think I speak for both of us. We'll dive deep here, but 10 out of 10 recommend.
Absolutely.
So good.
And I guess, should we kind of warn, spoiler
alert?
Because we'll get into some of the highlights there.
Yeah.
Because and this is, keep in mind, it's a documentary about Led Zeppelin. So if you're a hardcore fan, I'm sure you know most of this stuff already.
You probably know 90% of it.
But the presentation of it is worth seeing alone, and the storytelling in this.
For sure.
But yes, disclaimer, this is a spoiler review or discussion, just talking about some of the things we saw in the movie that we liked, didn't like, whatnot. So, yeah, spoiler.
Let's start with our takeaways. I think my takeaway was I went in a massive Zeppelin documentary, Zeppelin fan, thinking I knew most everything about Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I came out of it going, I knew most of that. But what I didn't realize, or maybe I didn't give enough credit to, is Jimmy Page as a producer/composer.
Yeah.
Like the brilliance in his head and how he got that out. I mean, you could make an argument that Zeppelin is almost Jimmy Page's band. Like the way he put everything together, he got them signed, the way he protected them, making sure they didn't release singles, that they were all albums. Like that to me, I thought was just so incredibly impressive.
Yeah. So for me, just full disclosure, I'm not the biggest Led Zeppelin fan. I didn't grow up as a big Led Zeppelin fan in my household. My parents' all-time favorite band were the Rolling Stones, so we grew up on the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
I feel like that era, you were either like Beatles, Rolling Stones. I think the more debate is always between Beatles and Rolling Stones, but then Led Zeppelin is also came right after that. So in our household, it was like Rolling Stones first as far as the classic rock era of those bands. So I didn't know a lot about the band in general, just other what I grew up watching or learning from MTV or VH1, those old specials in the 90s, various specials. So, and then working here at the Bone for the last 20 years, of course, I've heard all the major Led Zeppelin singles, big songs that we played on this station. We used to have Get the Lead Out, all that stuff. So that's all just been my exposure to Led Zeppelin. I don't know the full history, how they got started, all that stuff. So for me, the majority of this movie was just eye-opening.
It was an education.
It was, for me, education. So I think if you're a casual fan, if you're like I say, if you're a hardcore Led Zeppelin fan, a lot of this stuff
you won't be shocked.
Won't be shocked. Might not be new to you. But for me or casual fans, you're going to learn a lot from this movie. So that alone is worth seeing. And I just love the documentary. It's just really about just the early years. Literally, I think the first year and a half, 2 years of the band's existence, really that's the focus of this movie. I love that. First off, I don't know if you caught on this. I didn't realize this till afterwards. There was only 4 people speaking in this movie. It was just the 4 band members.
Yeah.
No outside voices.
No narrator. No
other
journalist.
It's just the 3 living members, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and then they found this unreleased, never heard before interview of Bonham.
Wasn't that cool to hear his voice?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as soon as his voice came through those big speakers, you were like, whoa.
Because I guess John Bonham rarely gave interviews before.
Yeah.
And so,
there was some personal stuff in there.
And that how crystal clear that audio was.
I know. I thought we're audio nerds. I thought the same thing.
And the fact a lot of stuff he was talking about in that interview was great, like like in the interview, I guess he's just really reflecting about the time in the band, why he loves the band, everything. So this interview is great in hindsight to talk about the band in the past. So what he was talking about just mixed in perfectly with the flow of the conversation.
It really did. It really did. It was almost like it could have been reflective 2025.
Yeah, if it was like him today talking, if he was alive today,
he might have said some of the same sentiment.
Yeah.
You know what I loved about that part particularly was watching the faces of the others listening to him speak.
And I was going to say the conclusion or the last scene.
Yeah.
Just the way that was shot of the 3 final members, like they were doing like that wraparound shot for each of them.
Oh, I have the goosies.
You get the goosebumps just watching that, and just the 3 of them. I think for all 3 of them, that was probably the first time they heard his voice in a long time.
A long time like that.
So I mean, Jimmy Page was smiling, leaning forward. Robert Plant, like all 3 of them were just smiling, like hearing their friend talk about how much he loved being in Led Zeppelin and loved being in a band with those guys.
It was really cool.
So for them, even at their older age, it was just, I think it probably gave them in that moment a new appreciation of what they accomplished together.
And after all this time has gone by.
Yeah.
You know, and after the public, us, the fans, desperately would love to have them back in the realm.
And what was interesting also, it was that the first, I don't know, 30 minutes of the movie, it was about them, just their history as kids, where they grew up, coming out of post-World War II, and just what was life in England at that time, and just discovering themselves, how they got into music. Yeah. You and I were breaking down all these what-ifs. Like, it was like a perfect storm, all these different little scenarios that played out for the band to come together. As far as Jimmy Page, it was just one day at school, a friend of his had a guitar, and he was just playing, and he said, I have one too. And the friend said, bring it to school. I'll tune it up and I'll show you a few things. And then that opened his doors, the gateway for him to start playing guitar all the time.
Isn't that crazy?
So it makes you wonder, if that guy never brought that guitar to school that day, never exposed Jimmy Page to the instrument, would Jimmy Page ever have been Jimmy Page?
Because after that, he was obsessed.
Yes.
Like, he played it all the time, never put it down. I tend to think, you know, I romanticize life in this way. Like, I tend to think what's meant to be will be. I think he would have found his way another way.
True.
But it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. Like, the way the cosmos sort of shifted to align for these 4 individuals. And this movie, if nothing else, is absolute proof that sometimes you get lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
You find 4 people that just click together, and that chemistry, it's like it was written in the stars. It was meant to be. They knew each other in another life. Whatever you want to to call that, it really is lightning in a bottle.
It really gave me a whole new appreciation for the band. Like I said, growing up, I was not the biggest Led Zeppelin fan, but now I have much more respect for them.
Yeah.
And I want to do more of a deep dive on who they are, what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So just disclaimer as well, this movie ended right after the Royal Albert Hall concert, which was end of 69.
I believe so, yeah.
So it doesn't get into, this is already 2 hours. 2 hours, that's where they get to.
Right.
So they get into the 70s and what led to the band breaking up in 1980.
Royal Albert Hall was 1970.
Okay. So it really is the first couple years of the band. So it was just cool. Like you and I were talking, like each band member, they called it like a super group because each of them represent like a different role in the band. Jimmy Page, as you said, he's like the music genius, the music savant. Like he had the vision, the sound, what Led Zeppelin is coming off his time in the Yardbirds. Like I didn't realize initially they were just the new Yardbirds, but then they decided to rename themselves. And their manager, I didn't realize how big of a role he had. And
he
like
was the heavy.
That could have been a whole separate like storyline of how he got things done for them. But yeah, John Paul Jones, he was like the music professional in that band.
Classically trained.
You know, he started with the church, and then he was a session musician.
His parents were vaudeville actors and performers.
So he was naturally in a performance household.
Grew up that way, yeah.
Yeah, and then him and Jimmy met through the session work. But then John Paul Jones, like, he can just play along to what everyone else is playing, and he knew how to respect other people's time and give them their moment to shine. How Bonham was playing.
Dude, that was such a cool moment. Like, of course, we're sitting there with two drummers, my husband and my son, and I know a lot about drums, although I can't play them. You know, that's all I hear. Jay and I talk so much about him, and I've been with him for almost 20 years. But it was fascinating whenever John Paul Jones was saying that he had such a love for Bonham's right foot, for that kick drum, and he wanted to make space for it. And so, like, just knowing that, just being such a professional that you know to, like, pull back and how to give that space and how to put it all together.
Yeah.
Those pieces. That's what I mean when I say lightning in a bottle. Like, that doesn't just happen with a group of four guys that come along.
And it was just cool, like, Robert Plant, his role as, the sexy front man.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page pushed him to be a better writer, lyric writer. And as you said, for Bonham, he was the wild card. He gave the band their edge,
He was
the animal. Yeah, all that stuff. So them coming together and just them meeting each other. And Robert Plant got Bonham in. And it was cool. Plant, the whole documentary kept calling him Bonzo.
Yeah.
Like,
they were so close. Yeah.
And that was the thing. They come together and they talk about their first meeting and practice. Like, to be a fly on that wall for that first meeting at that, like, downstairs area, wherever that was, wherever they performed at.
Yeah.
But just them coming together, introducing themselves to each other. And then there's was a Train Kept a Rolling.
Train Kept a Rolling, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. Old blues song from 1951, I think. 50.
So Aerosmith covered as well.
It, yeah.
So it was just
It was
cool.
done by Tiny Bradshaw originally.
It would have been amazing just to see them work out their first song. The electricity of them playing together for the first time.
And of which John Paul Jones didn't even know that song.
Yeah.
He was like, how does it go? And so Jimmy Page walked him through it, and he was like, okay, I can figure that out.
Yeah.
What?
Amazing.
I know. It's incredible.
And just for them to start recording after that, like, to me, Led Zeppelin 1, I didn't realize they recorded that on their own.
With the time. And I love how Jimmy talks about that. And I think that is the secret sauce, and also sometimes what hurts debut albums. And what I mean by that is because a lot of debuts do have the time, they have the time, they have the money, they have the energy, they have that fresh creativity. And so you'll hear a lot of people that are music snobs be like, nothing past the debut album. But that's why, because Zeppelin created this masterpiece. And like you said, like Jimmy Page had it all planned out. He heard it, not just songs, but he heard the in-betweens, and he wouldn't split it up into singles and all these things. So that is like such a priceless thing to have, and go to a label and go, here's this chunk of awesomeness, for lack of a better word. Don't split it up. Screw you.
Take it as it is.
Take it as it is, or don't take it at all.
It'd be just that they showed that photo, Jimmy Page and their manager with Atlantic Records rep, and they're signing the contract. And the agreement is, you're going to release this as it is, as we present it to you on a silver platter as a gift.
Yeah.
Just play it as is. And then they were telling the record label, and then like underground FM radio.
Yeah.
They have to play the full album. So side one, and then when that's done, take a break, commercial, whatever it is, come back and play side two. It's like, that's unheard of. Like,
Yeah.
but the fact that the label agreed to it and they were an unknown band,
Yeah.
that's a risk. Like, that's unheard of by today's standards.
Oh, it would never happen. Can you
Yes.
even imagine any kind of band, even if they just wanted one single to get looked at, to walk into any label and go, this is how you're going to do it? Like, they'd be like, F off.
Yeah, 4 guys walking into a record label and be like, "Hi, we're so and so. Sign us. Here's our album. Just release it as it is.
Yeah.
Do it.
Thanks.
Like,
Thanks, bye. Like, what?
how? And that makes me wonder. There has to be a lot more with the band manager, just
Yeah.
like how he strong-armed that deal, whatever the case may be. But it's amazing. And then the next year, 1969, that was amazing. That was amazing. They got big first in America
Yeah.
before England.
And then they went home, and England like didn't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, but it was cool how
So
the West
crazy.
Coast
Yes.
or San Francisco,
Yes.
that was the standard of if they made it or not.
That was so cool. Yeah, they had their show at the Fillmore West, and they were like, if this show doesn't make it, you're done.
Yeah.
And they knew. Can you imagine the amount of pressure?
Totally.
Like walking onto that stage and going, okay, it's all or nothing. But Jay pointed it out, and he's the musician of the group of us, and
Yeah.
he pointed out, he said what made them work. In fact, he told Cody this on the way home.
Okay.
What made Led Zeppelin so special is they played like they had to every time. They lived for playing. It was a life or death situation. And for Robert Plant, it was. He was homeless at the
Yeah.
time. So
Those
he
old photos
was,
of him, like, with those signs that like legalize weed
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But he's a total hippie, from
Yeah.
the 60s.
Yeah, and he was homeless. So he was living like I always say, playing for your supper. Like Janis Joplin played for her supper. She was screaming, she was singing, like she had to literally survive. And that's what Zeppelin did. And it makes all the difference in the world, whether there were 5 people in the room and you saw some of those early shots. Can you imagine being in the room for Zeppelin's first gig and some of those people look bored?
Or just something that
Just like sort of like
that
what's
was
happening?
Let me ask you this, because I saw one review and the guy thought how many times the movie stopped down was a little annoying. How they're telling the story, everyone's talking, and then they stopped and did like they showed like a full performance.
Oh, okay.
And then they did the performance. After that was done, get back into the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the performances.
If I heard him, I would discount his entire review.
Yeah, because for me, it's like, okay, this is old footage I've never seen before.
Yes.
And then on the big screen, those big speakers.
You feel like you're there.
It feels like I'm watching a live concert of Led Zeppelin. So for me, I appreciate the live performances.
Yes.
And I think if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, you would totally dig this.
Agreed.
So it was just interesting. Yeah, like their early performances, people didn't know how to react. Like the little kids and stuff, people putting fingers in their ear. Like they're a menace to society at that point. And then what was the other thing? So they start touring America and they immediately start working on Led Zeppelin 2 while on the road, going to different studios in the cities that they're playing in. So I'm like, what kind of long work days are they having? They're recording during the day, go play at night somewhere.
Nonstop.
And release Led Zeppelin 2 by the end of 1969. So 2 albums in 1 year.
And they blew up in 1 year. Like the whole movie takes place outside of introing them and what they're about as kids growing up. But the whole movie really shows what they accomplished in 1 year.
Yeah.
And when you think about that now, I mean, you're just like, it's absolutely stunning to think about it in that. And it is important to point out, if you go see this, like a lot of people have been surprised I've seen online, that it does end there. But it is called Becoming Led Zeppelin.
Yes.
There are a couple of things that I've done some reading on this in particular, but there's a couple of things that Robert Plant specifically didn't want to talk about.
Okay.
He didn't want to talk about the death of his child.
Okay.
He didn't want to talk about Bonzo's death
Yes.
because there were a couple of things that happened that led to the end of Led Zeppelin. Obviously, Bonham dying. And Robert Plant just could not go on.
Yes.
He had no desire. That was his best friend, brother, more like anything. And he could not get past it, did not want to play with anybody else. Like there just was not an option.
And I could just tell, and you and I and Jay, we talked about this at dinner. When you told me that Robert Plant doesn't like talking about Bonzo's death, which makes sense. They were like besties.
Yeah.
They knew each other from a young age and started together. The workaround, I guess, for them in this movie was Robert Plant kept saying, Patricia, Bonham's wife, kept warning him, do not go play with Robert Plant. It's going to lead to bad things. Yeah. And Bonham's like, no, this is my opportunity to go play. Because they originally had a different drummer lineup, but Robert Plant was insistent, I want Bonzo.
It's this guy or no one.
Yeah. And so he left his other band that he was in and started with Led Zeppelin. And unfortunately, as we could tell, it went down this downward spiral for John Bonham, the partying, the wildness, everything ultimately led to his death. So I wonder if Robert Plant to this day feels guilty for Bonham's death. Like, if I never encouraged him to join Led Zeppelin, he might be alive today.
I think we all can sit here and say we know that he shouldn't do that to himself.
Yeah.
Like intellectually,
Yeah.
that makes no sense. But emotionally, it makes every bit of sense in the world. And you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah. Oh,
when
yeah,
he's
absolutely.
talking about it, you can see there's so much sadness and there's so much depth. And I would say a dash of guilt in there. Whether
Absolutely.
it's rational or not,
Yeah.
I think that there is some of that.
Yeah. So that's my big thing. Is just like, I think that was the workarounds. Like, I'll talk about Bonham, and maybe that, I don't know if it's subconsciously or he did on purpose. He did acknowledge Patricia, Bonham's wife, kept telling Bonham, do not join Led Zeppelin. Don't go work with Robert Plant. So maybe that was his way of talking about the death without
really
getting
addressing
into
it.
So.
And then another crucial piece of the puzzle, allegedly, at least what has been said in interviews, is that Jimmy Page didn't go to the funeral of Robert Plant's son. And that really hurt him on a severe level. And there's no time in this movie where they're all in the same room.
Yeah.
They're never talking to one another.
Yeah, that's the thing. These were 3 separate interviews done, but they're all new interviews, and that's great. And I think for them to document, to get them on video talking about themselves in the band, I think that's important.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this movie. They really just focus on the music.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like there's so many other tangents that could have gone down. Like I said, the band manager, how the constant touring affected the families, get some outside family members talking, Jason Bonham talking growing up without a dad. Like, there's so many different...
all the wild things that they did, the Riot House, all that stuff.
Day on the Green in Oakland back in, 77. So there's so many different stories that can get into. And that can get all over. It can get messy.
Yeah.
Very
quick.
Saturated quick.
Yeah.
So I think... for the sake of this, it was glad that they just focused on the music and how that brought them together.
It was very pure.
Yes, and kept it simple that way. And I think it was still a very powerful movie. Like you said, come 2 hours, it kind of abruptly ends after that performance. But I feel like there could be easily a sequel.
Oh, there could.
Or
but I think
it's a mini series.
Yeah, but I think you could also say, and the rest is history. Because, we basically know the rest.
Yeah, and it was just cool, like full circle moment. In the beginning, John Paul Jones talking about his dad in vaudeville and how he said, Dad, I want to play bass. I want to be a musician. He's like, no, be a saxophonist. He's like, no, I want to play bass. And it was just cool. All these parents of Led Zeppelin encouraged them to play music, be creative, be an artist. So,
although he did say, if you have a saxophone, you'll always work. he was dogging on the bass big time.
But John Paul Jones started playing bass, and then come full circle after that Royal Albert Hall concert back in 1970. His dad was there and was really proud of him.
Such a cool moment.
So just cool. Like, Dad, thank you for believing in me. Let me do my thing. And I made you proud. Like, it was worth it. It all paid off in the end.
And they all got to do that at home. They brought it on home. Bring it on home. They brought it on home.
So that's the thing. Like, if I had to critique a few things, just the kind of sudden.
Oh, you're taking this shit seriously. He's trying to be a for real movie reviewer. Dennis, he's coming for you.
Siskel Ebert here. But that's the thing. It just kind of felt abrupt at the end.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure, like you said, if you're a hardcore Led Zeppelin fan, maybe a lot of this stuff doesn't seem new to you.
Yeah.
But I think that's the point of this movie is getting new fans or casual fans.
That brings up my question that I was going to ask you. Like, now, are you inspired to go listen album by album?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to,
and find your own favorite.
I don't know if I should say this. I've never listened to a Led Zeppelin album front to back.
See, okay, then you have homework.
I never have.
Then we actually did this for Cody. I think I told you this already, but we did this for Cody. We took him down Led Zeppelin from album 1 all the way through.
Okay.
And I mean, slowly over time, not in one day.
Yeah.
But just to teach him the basics. We did that with the Stones. We've done that with Sabbath. We've done that with a lot of bands. But that's what I would tell you. I would say start in the beginning, go all the way through, make note of what your favorites are. Not the hits. What are your deep cuts? I have my own favorite deep cuts. They did use Thank You, that was Jay and I's wedding song.
Okay.
That moment, if you saw Jay and I
Wait, which part was?
Towards the end.
When they were all smiling, listening to Bonham's voice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was our wedding song. So I want to hear what your favorites are. So you have some homework to do. You can take your time, but come back to me and let me know.
Well, and I'm curious though, will this movie lead to more new Led Zeppelin fans, or Like, will their streaming numbers go up? Like,
I'm
should
sure they
we
will.
play more Led Zeppelin on the bone right now to maximize it? You know,
I've already been thinking about doing
Like,
Get the Lead Out
but
again.
you think
Dennis Willis gave us praise. Nice movie review. He's a legitimate movie reviewer. We're just over here trying, but think about it much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Think about it much.
But that's the thing. It's like, look at Cody. You know, imagine other kids between the ages of 8 through a teenager watching that right now. This could be their great introduction to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
They get exposed to being.
And so inspired.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Cody is very obsessed with the banjo right now, which is like if you had asked me 2 years ago what instrument my kid would play, it definitely would not have come up as a banjo.
Yeah.
But I'm learning a lot. Like, so you just never know what will inspire them. And I think this movie could be that.
Yes. And I'm just thinking, like, and this is probably the best thing they can do. Because listen, for years, we've wanted Led Zeppelin to reunite once again.
Yeah.
Give us some new music, something. Give us something. And this is, at least for the fans, some form of new content that they can grab onto and just enjoy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have homework to do.
Okay.
We need a book report, an album report. Good afternoon, y'all. It's always
Jose.
a treat to catch up with you guys live. Hi, Jose.
Nice movie review.
Hey, dude, that means the world to me because Dennis is like, he goes deep.
Thank you,
He goes like
Dennis.
really deep. So I want to hear what Dennis has to say. Dennis, I don't know if you were on in the very, very beginning, but we said we would love to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
So to do movie reviews, I mean, you can just come on the podcast anyway,
Yeah.
but to do movie reviews.
I wonder because because you and I were trying to investigate. We don't know the full answer, but it looks like this past weekend was like the last weekend of it out. And it looked like middle of the week, a lot of movie theaters are not showing it. But we're running a commercial that said
It's coming back on the 28th.
IMAX on February 28th. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're watching this right now, go see ASAP while you can on the big screen.
Yes.
I hope, and I'm assuming it will be released on Blu-ray or 4K.
I'm sure.
You know, something that we can watch it again and again and again.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Streaming.
will. But on
Yeah.
the big screen, you can't replace
Yes,
that. It's
yeah.
just such a special thing to
Yeah.
be able to see it and hear it.
Yes, exactly.
You know, just to have like even just Bonham's voice like fill up that room is just, it's extra special.
Yeah.
All right, well, we were going to do some Huey help, but we've been rambling for
I know.
almost 45 minutes at this point.
It makes it easier.
I was getting exactly. Yeah, this is our dedicated movie review, our first ever movie review. I'll make an intro, I swear to God. Thank you guys for being here. Seriously,
Yes.
I was listening to a podcast, I think it was yesterday. Oh my God, I went ham on my studio and garage. You would be so proud of me, Huey. Dennis, you would too. I pulled my shit out of my studio. I pulled everything out and like cleaned it and trying to get my head around redoing it.
Okay.
But anyways, over this weekend, I was listening to a podcast and I was like, I don't do this enough. Like, rate and review, subscribe, leave a comment. Like, I don't do all those things because I feel like everyone knows that, but maybe they don't. Maybe it's a good reminder.
Here's the thing.
You're good at it.
Well, but someone that listens to podcasts too, I hear that stuff. And there's a reminder. Like, I'm sitting there watching like a YouTube podcast I like.
Yeah.
And they're like, hit the thumbs up. I'm like, oh, okay. And
right.
in that moment, it'll snap me out of it and then grab my mouse and I'll hit the thumbs up real quick.
Yeah.
Give them that love.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like someone might be afraid. Someone might be watching this right now, but afraid to talk or leave a comment. So please don't be afraid to jump in the conversation, leave a comment.
The water's warm.
Yeah, it's
Welcome
okay.
to the rock and roll pool.
Unless you're being a dick, we're good. We don't bite. We're friendly.
Exactly. If
So-
you're going to be a dick, keep that to yourself.
But if you're shy, it's okay. I'm shy too. Let it out there. So that's
Yeah.
my big thing. I think saying that stuff, it's always a good reminder because some people might be in the zone doing something and they're like, oh, I forgot to do this. So,
Absolutely. Also, just wanted to do a little cross promotion.
Yeah.
We're going to get in the weeds just for a second. But
Okay.
Dennis and I were on the phone the other day, and I was talking about like how cool it is to me, I think, here in the Bay Area, you have all these like people, like the group of us that do like sound waves and we do this, and you have in the click and we have like sound waves TMI. Like there's all these parts of this like puzzle, and I'm not saying it very well because I didn't sleep last night, but I just think it's really neat. So I say that to say this. Dennis Willis is a part of Soundwaves TV. He also hosts Soundwaves FM on the Bone. That's at 10 o'clock on Saturday nights. But Soundwaves TMI is another podcast that I do with the guys, Soundwaves guys. And we posted an episode this past week, I guess, that I'm like, I don't know. I've been nervous about it because we accidentally fell into a political conversation.
Oh, I think I saw that clip.
You may have seen the clip. There was a moment where I got really like intense and heated, just because I have realized.
Oh no, you told me about it. That's right.
I did tell you about it.
Yeah.
I have realized that I'm very sad right now about the state of our world, and I'm not talking about right or left. I'm talking about the lack of communication that we can't have anymore. Like we can't talk about important things, and I think it's really, really, really incredibly important to be able to have conversations that you learn from.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've lost the art of that. So go check it out. Let us know what you think. I would love to try to, I don't know, get us back to a place where we can talk.
Yeah, well, it's tough when there are grown adults who act like children.
Yeah, granted.
I'll just leave it at that.
This is why I've taken Facebook off my phone.
Yeah.
Because, it's just a lot of hate. So I'm very proud of what we're doing on this podcast and the conversations that we're having on Soundwaves TMI and on My Rock Your Life. And, of course, in The Click.
Yeah,
Don't forget
baby.
about that. Wrestling conversations are important, too.
Well, shout out. Yeah. So last week I recorded an interview with AEW wrestler Adam Cole, baby.
Wow, you just straight went into promo mode. That's impressive.
But yes, it was cool talking to him. He's one of my favorite wrestlers from the last 10 years. He used to be in WWE, specifically in the NXT brand. He was a longtime champion. I've seen him win big titles in person over the years. But yes, AEW's coming to the Oakland Arena this Saturday, March 1st for AEW Collision. Get your tickets over at Ticketmaster.com, last minute tickets, AEWTix.com. And yeah, please subscribe to In the Click, KLIQ. We're on YouTube, wherever else you get your podcast.
See how much better he is at that than I am?
You're
You're just so much better. You could say it in your sleep at this point, I think. It is good. Wait, yes, Jose, In the Click, baby. Amen to that. All right, well, that does it for this week. That was a lot of fun. I'm very proud of what we've done here today, Huey.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm going to try to catch up on social media stuff for at Chasta and Huey. So please follow us on social, Facebook, Instagram, X, at Chasta and Huey. I'm going to get back.
I love how we all do that.
X. But get back posting like clips and highlights from there, some photos. I got a lot of stuff. Like side note, that was the other thing why I didn't sleep well last night, because I was just up late. An account or a server that used to host old audio interviews, podcasts you and I used to do together, literally, I want to say 8, 9, 10 years ago, was threatening to delete everything. So I was just mad scramble last night trying to download everything so I can back it up, and that way this server doesn't just delete it all and we lose all that stuff. So I was downloading up to about 11 o'clock last night.
Oh, God.
So, yes. So maybe at some point, maybe some of these old interviews will resurface on our YouTube channel.
I think that's a question for you watching right now. Is that something that you guys would want us to post? Because I think there's still a lot of value in a lot of these conversations that we've had, even though there may be time references in them that make them time dated, but they're still cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe we've been doing interviews together for 10 years.
I know. That was the thing, too.
2015 is when we started.
Yeah. So I'm actually thinking about going by Best Buy today, get a new hard drive, external
hard drive. Hard drive. This kid has a bookcase of hard drives.
And just dump everything, all the aftershocks, all the interviews that we've done, all the other events, Warped Tours, everything, phone interviews in one spot, and then at some point organize it and then start releasing it. But you're right, because some of these conversations are still great. While there might be dated stuff from those last 10 years, at least the conversation's great, because it's sometimes like our first interview with Lizzie Hale, for example, Matt from Trivium. There's like a lot of great stuff in there just sitting there. And for maybe a lot of people didn't hear it the first time around.
Yeah,
so it's great to maybe hear it again, just a fun conversation. I mean, hell, Howard Stern on satellite radio, he replays so much old stuff.
Howard stuff.
Old stuff. So, and people listen to it still.
I would love to go back and hear our Perry Farrell. That's just one that came to my mind.
Yeah.
That would be very different than we have today.
Yeah.
All right, well, let us know if you're interested in that. Don't forget to back up your backups. Files can easily get corrupted. Jose,
well,
trust me, I know that one
I
too
try to put some stuff on Dropbox as well, like my version of the cloud system.
No, it's a backup to a backup to a backup.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Yeah, I get it. All right, well, thank you guys for being here with us. We love you so much. Mwah! And we will talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.